Wintertide brand was nerfed many times over the years. I've played it many times in the past. It's one of my favorite skills. I love brand skills. I had switched over to Storm brand generally, but they did make a change to quality of Wintertide brand, and so I decided to develop for my league starter yet another attempt at a Wintertide brand build. This one does not use Creeping Frost, nor does it use Ice Spear like I used to, because of changes to the way what's called Elemental Overload. You used to be able to scale 40% more damage if you've crit, so I would use Ice Spear as an ancillary. That got changed. You have to crit with the build. Wintertide brand cannot hit, nor can it crit, and so you cannot crit nor hit. It's only DOT. Now I was a little bit disappointed when it came to tinctures and charms this league. There were none related to damage over time multiplier, increased damage over time effect. I was hoping for a tincture mod which gave increased damage over time, and it does not exist at the moment. Now despite nerfs, the quality effect now gives more damage per stage. What I'm running now, of course, is the low life version, and you'll see I have a health pool of around 5k ES, not optimized. It's 5197 it looks like. I happened to find the King of the Mist, so I decided to go ahead and kill him. Just gonna show somewhat long demo. Now I have a cosmetic on my Wintertide brand. It doesn't normally look like this. I have it set to little cosmic brands as opposed to the little icicles. And the reason for that was that you can see what you're doing better. It's just, for me, less chill clouds. I could avoid damage a little bit better. In a nutshell, this is the low life version. It has more DPS output. It's sheeted around 85k. And it does significantly more than that, of course, because that's per stage, and that's before effects of Double Curse. We get Double Curse without Whispers of Doom. We don't bother with any marks because we don't hit, and so there'd be little reason to do that. Our ancillary skills are the middle click, Frost Bomb, which applies cold exposure, and then on left click we have Cold Snap, and then of course we activate as much as we can Vow Cold Snap. We also use Vow Discipline in lieu of Wicked Ward, because Wicked Ward cuts our ES recharge rate, although it does save us when we take damage over time. Our flasks, of course, we do have a bleed flask. We don't have to worry too much about poison. What was hilarious here, you can see, I did kill the King of the Mist successfully, but I died at the same time as him. So, ran back into the map. This is a tier 16 Eradicator map. And we're just gonna run through. I'll show, this is the higher damage version again. If you wanna feel strong, this is the one you run. This is very, very, very non-hardcore viable, and you can see a lot of dips. We have very poor armor. I did at one point add Determination, but it requires a lot of strength. I instead said, let me get even more damage and replace it with Haste, as a matter of preference. However, it feels fun. You know, with brands, you have to always use brand recall to pull them forward, and you want to somewhat dodge, let the brands do the work. At one point I had Essence Support trying to scale quality even higher on the Wintertide brand, but it didn't have as much damage potential as Awakened Swift Affliction. Awakened Swift Affliction, though, has one downside. It cuts our brand time active. Now, you'd never, with Wintertide brand, want to use Swift brand. Excuse me, it's called Swift brand support. Even though it'll get you to stage 20 very fast, the brands just don't last long enough. And they're applying DOT as they activate, and so you don't want Swift brand for sure. You want as much brand duration as possible. A lot of Wintertide brand setups really scale duration. I don't focus on it too hard. I do a little bit here and there with the passive tree. But I just cast them a lot and don't worry about it. And of course, using Cold Snap applies more damage over time, and also more chill. We don't use Vortex. I've actually never used Vortex with Wintertide brand. I just never felt the need for it. Just too annoying to activate. I'd rather use Cold Snap. Cold Snap also offers us a way to hit, and this is how we apply through Hex Touch Elemental Weakness as our second curse. The other curse originally was used with a Impresence Amulet for free Frostbite aura, but you have changes to Blasphemy support where it nerfs the effect of the curse. So what we use now is a ring, Profane Proxy I believe it's called, which allows our Skitterbot instead to apply the curse constantly with more effect. As long as you play like a brand build and don't stand inside the mobs, you'll be fine. I sometimes just kind of walk in front of the mobs when I don't care, or if I've been drinking. And so this version will die more. But you'll kill people quicker, and it's a little better for bossing. Later in the video, we're going to show off the CI version, which I prefer, and which is the one that I'll post the POB for. If you want to try out the low-life version, go for it. It's very simple. It just uses a Prism Guardian, shield, and a Chevron, because we do take chaos damage. You can play around with it if you want. Now, I'm running this ultimatum. I wanted to try to get to wave 10. I have a little bit of ultimatum notes on my Atlas, which made it harder. But actually, come to think of it, this might have been... I can't remember if this is a Keurig mission. I don't think this... No, this wasn't. This was not a... Okay, so this was using my Atlas, never mind. And so, the ultimatum's a little bit harder on purpose. Vow Discipline's great if you can get your Vow Souls up, because you don't get the detrimental effect of Wicked Ward with less recharge rate, but you don't lose Energy Shield recharge if you're taking damage over time, like Bleed or Ignite. Again, play like a brand build, dodge, and use Brand Recall to pull the brands toward you at all times. We also use Holy Conquest so that it spreads quicker, significantly quicker. Only have 5 brands, we don't need 7. Again, Frost Bomb and Cold Snap allow us to hit, which actually allows us to have Culling Strike because we have a Tincture, which I'll show later. This was nice, this had 5 catalysts, so I was like, okay, gotta at least do this one. I put that on and almost immediately was yeeted. So, not super tanky is the problem. There are actually better builds out there, frankly, in general, which have even more damage output. But this one has a little bit of tankiness. Like, if you're running regular tier 16 maps, it's fine. I'm gonna show here, yes, we can do the Eradicator, but we're gonna die a few times. Which is why I'm showing this off, because this is kind of my classic setup. And it's a way to really get lots of damage on your Wintertide brand. But we're going to transition shortly here to the CI version, which I prefer. Less damage output, but more tanky, funner to run casually. We're going to use a shield like this. Much faster start of Energy Shield recharge. Body armor, huge ES, much faster start of ES recharge. We want the ES recharge to start very quick, because we don't hit hardly at all. We really don't leech. So there's no leech, so we stay alive with Brush with Death, Cluster, and one of our Ascendancy nodes, which I'm going to show right here. Yep, Vile Bastion, and of course we have the cold stuff, and then the extra curse. Now, we're only really using this here for movement speed, which feels really nice, and then the Tincture, we give ourselves Culling Strike, and then more damage, because we're using so many spells, this gives us quite a bit more damage. Then we have a Damage Flask with Ignite Immunity, a Movement Flask, an Onslaught Flask, and an Armor Flask. I have this Megalomaniac, which gives us these 3 very nice nodes, which synergize incredibly well with this build. That was only like 1 Divine too. Now, of course, because we're low life, we want to really stack auras. There's no more aura clusters. There used to be a medium-sized one, which was beautiful. It would increase your aura effect. They do not exist anymore. We still use Disorienting Display like the good old days. Brush with Death, very important, especially early. I didn't have another tier 16 Eradicator, so I decided to show off a regular tier 16 with the alternate setup. Significantly more Energy Shield, faster start of Energy Shield recharge, huge tankiness. Less auras, we had to get rid of Haste, and we had to get rid of Zealotry. Got a Shaper Amulet there, which was nice. I'm of course using, if you are wondering and you're not a veteran of the channel, I'm using my own custom loot filter. I have videos on it. I think it's one of my, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess I'm just proud of it, because it works very well. I use it myself with all my shitposts. That's one thing I actually did that was useful in this world, in the POE world. few wisps and disperse them. You'll see, despite the damage nerfs on mobs, we're perfectly fine. Now I do need to play around with this more on Delirious maps and see just how tanky it really can be. We still take these chunks of damage. But truth be told, I wanted to play around with Wintertide brand quite a bit, and I do want to explore a transfigured Soul Rend setup, which I'm going to convert this Witch into very soon. Which is why I recorded all this raw footage. And we're going to run to the boss room and just show how this feels on a, Alct tier 16, like we all run. Leave the brands on there, don't keep recasting them, because you want them to be constantly activating at stage 20. And it's a very clean, comfortable setup, which is what I'm going to post the POB for.